Okay. I did forget to put on the screen the Gemara. Hmm. Okay, I'll take a second if that's okay. Okay. So on top of Daf Mem Hey and about 5-6 lines down, 7 lines, B'chol Yom. So the Mishnah was saying differences between Yom Kippur and the rest of the year. And the next thing that it talks about is that the Torah every day was a prosper, Shachos, prosper, and Rabbain. Just a little side point, not that the Mishnah talks about it at all, but people who say the Torah every day, so it's nice to know that Peter Torah, sorry about Sipon, etc. It says how much you have of each one. Shivim mana means 70 mana each. And then the next one is Shisha Samana, another 4 that are 16 each, and then it goes on, the Kosh Nemusa, Kilu Pashlosa, Kinamantisha. That's where it stops. And over there, if you add on all those numbers, 70 times 4, and then 16 times 4, and then 12, 9, it comes out to 368. And that's a mana, 368 mana. The word mana doesn't only mean a portion, it means a certain weight, which is called a mana. It comes out to be machlokes if it's about 350 grams each mana, or 425. Let's just, for argument's sake, say approximately 400 grams is a mana. And then it says altogether, when you make the Torah once a year, you get 368 mana, 365 according to the solar year, and 3 more of Yom Kippur. This is that people who say Ketores. According to the solar year. That you're going to use a handful out of those 3 money. You're not going to use the whole thing. You're going to take only a cupful, a cupped hands full, and take it into the Yom Kippur. And you re-grind it again every Yom Kippur in order to make it extra fine. So people who say Ketores, it's nice to know what the cheshbon is. Okay, so now the Gemara says here about the 7th line. Every day they would take a pras. Pras means a half of the mana, because you had a mana, 365 manim. So half of it was bought in the morning Ketores, half of it was bought in the afternoon Ketores. And then also on Yom Kippur you had an extra below chafnav that was brought into the Kodesh HaKadoshim. And the Mishnah also said, that on every Kippur is supposed to be extra fine.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to hang us up, but did you say 368 equals a mane? I thought that we were saying is 70 mane.
Yeah, 70 mana per over there in Peter Maktoris, Satsori, that's Ipora, Chavna, Halavona.
Each one gets 70.
Right. Each one is 70 mana. Then it goes to the next ones. How does it go up there?
No, but so if a mana is 368, and each one gets 70, it'll be 70 times 368.
I didn't say that. I said that how many manim do you have? So if you have 70 times 4, that's
280. I see. You get 368 manim altogether. Not that a mana equals 360.
It tells you how much mana of each one. This was 70 each, this is 16 each, this is 12. This
and why do we care that there's 368?
Because we need 365 for the solar year.
Each year, each year.
And then 3 more for Yom Kippur. Not that you're going to use all 3, but from the 3, you're going to take a cupped handful. Out of that 3, he's going to take his personal hand. But you have to have 3 mana to work with. So that's how you get 368.
Okay, got it.
And then once a year, they got 368 mana, and each day they used 1 mana, and that's what it says. Pras v'shachos, pras by not blind. That you used Ketores twice. So you use half a mana in the morning. Ketores, it comes out just a little bit to visualize it. It comes out approximately that each time you did Ketores was about 200 grams of the Ketores, because the mana is approximately 400, between 350 and 425, something like that. So just to get some kind of idea, it's approximately 400 grams, and a pras would be about approximately 200 grams.
Like less than half a what do you call it? Half a bag of camel.
When they manufactured this, though.
Yeah, so less than
200.
It's a fun. Oh,
That's the whole
400 for
day,
the
and
whole
then-
day,
it is.
200. Oh, so it's
Approximately 200, not so much. That's how
So
much.
were they constantly manufacturing this, or they did like a big batch and they always had enough
Once a year.
once a year? Uh-huh.
Because that makes
I
me
see.
8 every year.
Right, right. Okay.
Uh,
Tanarabanan. This word daka, for some reason, usually they always tell you the pasuk is on the side, Torah, or this word daka should be a pasuk.
Is it?
This word daka should be a pasuk.
Let's see it.
You going already? Yes, tell us fine. Okay, okay.
What's that?
Welcome, David.
You leaving or coming?
Okay, daka. So the pasuk says daka. This is the pasuk that it should be a little circle over here that will tell you it's a pasuk in Parshas Zachariah. It says Torah samim daka. That says on your kippur you should have fine Torahs. And the Kash is Matavaloma. What are you the pasuk for? The whole year round Torah it says it's supposed to be fine ground. It's supposed to be ground. The fact that it says every day the Torah should be fine, grounded. And then it says Yom Kippur again, Daka. It didn't have to say it. You know, always Torah. So it must be Daka Menadak. It's supposed to be extra fine. If the Torah is always finely ground. And on Yom Kippur it's going to be extra fine. That's why it says Kadesh say Daka Menadak.
Easier for the Kohen Gadol to hold it.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. Because right, that doesn't make a difference. But it's gonna, for whatever reason. David's asking why. Why should it be Daka Menadak? Burns better. I don't know the reason. Okay, it's supposed to be extra. Okay. Okay, but it doesn't get lighter because of that probably. Okay, but it's I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, expresses the greater purity or greater
Could be.
segula.
Yeah, okay. The fact that it's not
kapara,
extra.
become kapara because
Okay, maybe it also burns better. Maybe it burns nicer. The fact that in Kodesh HaKodashim it's going to be something which is the incense is going to be more fine. I don't know. Okay, the Mishnah continues. When you went up on this is not about the Torah anymore, but every day the difference between Yom Kippur and the whole
the rest of
year.
the year.
That when they went up to Kevesh, the Kevesh is the rim going up to the Mizbeach. So it says always you'd go beer to the right, so to speak. Then it says you went up on the east because you're going from the south towards the north. You're going up the rim, so your right side is on the east. So you go to that side, you bear right. You bear right on the right side, and when you go down, you go all around the Mizbeach. You come down, you're coming down on the west side. Also, you'll be coming down on the right. Right. So it happens to be that it goes that way the traffic goes, but here it's going to say. The reason is whenever you make a turn. So I'm saying Rashi now. Rashi says that the way that the Gemara is dashing is because when you make a turn, you're supposed to make a right turn. So Rashi says it isn't because you're being right because there's a mother to be on the right side. It's because that eventually when you're going to get up to the top of the Mizbeach or wherever you're going to the Sobeh, you're going to have to turn right. You don't just you have to go you go around the Mizbeach, you go to the right and you go all around. So since you're going to have to go to the right, so stay beer right in order to be close to the right. If you go in the middle, then when you're going to beer right, you're going to have to walk, let's say, half of the ramp unnecessarily. Nowadays, they would say if you want to exit right, so beer right, that you shouldn't make a crash over there. Someone else is also coming up on the right lane. But here the reason is because they will be unnecessarily walking on the right. So Rashi says that it would be considered shalom tzorah. Rashi in the Mishnah says. It's not nice that he should be going on the Mizbeach unnecessarily. So since you're going to eventually turn right, so go all the way on the right. That's how Rashi explains the Gemara.
By the way, this says all Kol Yom including Yom Kippur.
No, in contrast, but then Yom Kippur, Vayom, the Kohen Gadol goes in the middle. Vayom. Now here, the next word, if you see on the Gemara, you have over there the first word is in the parentheses with an asterisk. Olin says in the side Oleh. Yeah. So there is a gear that says that everybody, whoever's going to be assisting the Kohen Gadol, is also going to be going in the middle. In our Girsa it says Oleh, which means only the Kohen Gadol. But we'll take our Girsa that the Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur he walks in the middle, both on the way up and the way down. Ayom Oleh be'emsa, v'yorod be'emsa. That he goes up and down in the middle. And why is that? My time, Rabbi Shimon the Kohen Gadol, the honor of the Kohen Gadol that he goes in the middle. Rashi says that he's like a Ben Bayis. The Lashon is going to be later on that he's like somebody close in the family, so it doesn't have to show as much reverence. A bit, maybe I don't know how to say it the right way. Of course, he shows reverence, but there's something a close relationship of the Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur, and therefore he goes in the middle. Of course, he's representing Am Yisrael, but the point is that he doesn't have to be careful not to walk an extra step. He can go in the middle, and a small couple for the Kohen Gadol, he doesn't have to go to the side. And as Rashi will explain, even though he's going to be walking extra steps from the middle lane to go to the right, that's okay. He's allowed to do that. And Rabbi Yehuda in the Mishnah said that the Kohen Gadol always does. We don't pass like him. We pass him like Tanakh, that only on Yom Kippur does the Kohen Gadol do that. Even the Kohen Gadol himself, every day he also would walk on the sides. But on the Yom Kippur, then he would walk in the middle.
Rabbi, it could be equated, I think, if I may say, to the dak into the union of the finest possible. Because there's extra work is
It doesn't say
given
because of
to-
extra work. It doesn't say it's extra. because of
No,
work. It doesn't say.
extra.
It's supposed to be extra fine. It doesn't say because it'll be less work that way. It doesn't say. I mean, that's what they would mention. But they can't put it in the Gemara yet. It's not that printed. B'chol yom kohen gadol mekadesh yadav v'rag lav min hakiyah v'ayom from kitin shel zav. Every day the kohen gadol himself would also consecrate his hands and feet, sanctify them from the kiyar, the laver that was in between the old mud and the mizbeach. But on today, on Yom Kippur, they would bring him a golden pitcher of gold.
Not so.
Kiton shel zav.
Because
and-
brass the rest of it.
What?
Because it's brass the rest of it.
Because what?
Usually it's brass.
No, that's not the point. In my time, I'm missing for this kohen gadol. They bring him a special. It happens to be that it's gold. That is true. I'm just pointing out that usually it was nechoshes and here it's gold. But the point is, mashma, that is because it's something personal. They bring him the
Uh-huh.
kitan shel zav. Abuda says that always the kohen gadol will pass like him. Either we pass like the kohen the Tanakama, that usually the kohen gadol also would use the kiyur. Only on Yom Kippur they bring the kitan shel zav that he should be mekadesh other b'raglav b'char where he is by the mikvah, wherever the mikvah is, on the sharamayim or by the gag beis apam, whichever one he was doing. So they bring him a kitan shel zav. Tanu Rabbana. Oh, b'chol yom. Now the rest of the circuit today. No, yeah, but it's there's something the kohen gadol that is to be more honorable. I don't think that it's just for the. I don't think so. I don't think it's just emotional. What is that? Yeah, but I don't think that is only because of that. I think it's something be'etzem. It's something be'etzem that the kohen gadol is supposed to be more mukubal.
The
Tanu
whole
Rabbana.
day is full of kiddushin.
What's that?
The whole day is full of kiddushin in terms of the whole day is full of kiddushin.
Okay, so that's what we're learning.
in
It's
terms of the
exactly the same.
avoid, and
This
this
is
is
each
another
one.
one.
B'chol yom ha'yishem ha'ba marachos. Now we're going to talk about how many.
Baba, I heard a Shaila, why are you allowed to be Makni Shel Zahav, Kategor Nasa Tanagor? And the Chiddush was that Kategor Nasa Tanagor is only by begodim and not by one of the Kalim. So that's what Mater is taking in something gold. So that's verkehrt from what they're saying.
Okay, I didn't hear why it's different, but Rav Manuel is saying there's no problem with having gold because even though gold is a problem sometimes on Yom Kippur, but not on the Kelim, only on the Begadim. Okay, the Gemara continues. Now we're going on to the Marachos, which is going to be a big sugya. The rest of the day talks about the fires on the Mizbeach. So the Mishnah spoke about how many they usually have on a regular day, 2, 3, or 4. How many fires, right? And on Kippur, everybody holds that there was an extra one, which is going to be the one to make coals in order to take the coals into the Kodesh HaKodashim for the Torah, which is brought inside the Holy of Holies. But the machlokis in the Mishnah is a regular machlokis, a weekday machlokis. How many fires do you have on a regular basis? Are they 2 or 3 or 4? So the Gemara is going to first bring the machlokis what they are, and then we're going to go into the psukim to darshan. So it says, Tanu b'chol yom ha'yisham ha'ba marachos. The Mishnah first starts from Meir, then Rav Yossi, then Rav Yehuda, 4, 3, or 2 on a regular day. And now the Bryce is going to go to a different order of 2, 3, and 4. First, it's going to start with Rav Yehuda, then Rav Yossi has one more, Rav Meir has one more. Tanu Rabbanan. First one on the line, Tanu Rabbanan. B'chol yom ha'yisham marachos. Every day of the year, there were 2 fires on the Mizbeach. By Yom Shalosh, on Yom Kippur, there was an extra one, the third one. What are the 2 of every day? Achas meracha gedola, achas meracha shnish k'toras. Every day there was a big one. That was the one where you put all the kabbanas on, and then there was a second one, which was in order to have coals, in order to put it onto the inner mizbeach for the k'toras. Means every day that k'toras on the mizbeach, the inner mizbeach, the golden altar, and the coals for that fire they brought from the outer mizbeach, and that was a separate fire. We had the mention of this before. About 10 pages ago, we spoke about this, and here we're coming in again that there are 2 fires: the bit Maracha Gedola, then Maracha Shnish L'Kedos. We learned it about the order. How do you do it? Abaya Gamasada say the Maracha. The first one was Maracha Gedola, called them the Maracha Shnish L'Kedos. So this is the 2, and everybody holds you had at least these 2. And in Kippur, you had one more. Rachash Masifim Bo B'Yom Div Rabbi Yehuda. So Rabbi Yehuda says on a regular basis he had 2 every day, and an extra one for Yom Kippur that you brought the coals from there into the Kodesh HaKodashim to do the Torahs. Rav Yossi adds on one more every day. Rav Yossi Yom B'chol Yom Shalosh by Yom Arba. Every day of the year there were 3 fires, and Yom Kippur was an extra one, 4. What are they? Again, Achash Meracha Gedola, Achash Meracha Shnish L'Kedos. That he agrees. Where's the extra third one? Achash Shalkim Mo'esh. One for the maintenance of the fire. So what does that mean? What does maintenance of the fire mean? So Rashi says that if they would need to strengthen the fire on the big Maracha is going out. Besides that, you need wood. Yes, that they bring more wood. But also they might need fire. They have to have a fire sometimes to light it. So to relight it. So that you'd have a source to get that fire, you had a special fire. A third fire that was there in case you need to
a backup
fire in order to relight.
Probably had big
the
logs
fire.
in there, big logs.
Whatever they had in order to keep it going. Just to point out that the Rashash, he says over here, he doesn't know why Rashi doesn't say simpler, like the words might sound like you're supposed to have a constant fire. There's a mitzvah to have a constant fire. Like
It's made to cut out.
there. So we're going to dash in that pasuk soon, and we're going to say a different shot, but in the simple shot, it does seem that there's a mitzvah to have a constant fire on the mizbeach, not just the fire which is burning. You might have been mekayim in the big fire that it should always be burning, but they made another fire that should constantly be burning. But just to point out, this is not Rashi, this is the Rashash. The Rashash says that he would learn Pashup Shandik more like that about Yossi's Kiyam Eish, and Rashi doesn't say it. Rashi says Kiyam Eish means the Kiyam Eish of the big fire. In order to maintain the big fire, if you need it, if it would be going out, so then you would have this source to be able to bring a fire for the big fire. The
So
Rashash
Rashash is holding that third
that's a
fire
mitzvah to have a constant fire.
is that's
Like,
the one.
Yeah, okay. And then again, Achashim Masif and Bo B'Yom, he also agrees that Yom Kippur has an extra one, so every day you have 3, and Yom Kippur you have 4. And the third sheet is Rav Meir Omer, that's what it says in the Mishnah of Meir, B'chol Yom Arba v'Yom Chamesh. Every day there's 4 fires, and we have to find out what is that 4th fire. V'Yom Chamesh, and Yom Kippur is an extra one. What are they? Just to scroll it up. Achas Shel Marocha Gedola, Achas Shel Marocha Shni Shel Koras, Achas Shel Kiyom. So far the same thing we had till now. The big one for all the Kabbalah, the second one to take the coals for the Torah of every day, and one for Kiyam Eish, which we just said means to maintain the fire. If the fire is going out and the big Marocha, so you'll bring fire from this third fire, and then an extra one. What's this? That if you had limbs or fats from yesterday's Kabbalah that were being burnt, but they didn't get finished being burnt. They didn't get completely consumed. So you have to continue burning it. So you make a special fire. According to Rav Meir, you make a special fire to burn yesterday's Evarim. You're going to make a new fire today, but that's going to be for today's Kabbalah. Yesterday's Kabbalah that didn't finish yet, so you'll put them on a special fire. We're going to see at the bottom of the page where they're abundant hold, you put it back onto the same fire. It means you make a new fire, and you put on yesterday's Kabbalah also. But Rav Meir says you have a special fire for them.
Well, what's the problem with the fats? What is nitachlu?
Nitachlu means they're consumed. They were those that were not consumed yet. There's no problem with them, just that they didn't get finished burning. Yeah, yesterday you put it on the fire, at night you put it on the fire, yesterday's Kabbalah, and in the morning it still didn't get burnt, didn't finish being consumed.
Didn't finish being burned. So what? So then you put them on this 4th fire.
Right. And the bottom page is going to, at the end, we're going to see that Rabbanan hold, you put it back onto the new big fire that you're going to make. You're going to make a new Maracha Gedola for today, for today's Kabbalah. You're also going to put on yesterday's Kabbalah that weren't finished yet. That's going to be the Gemara later on. Which Rav says you have a special fire for it. So we finished explaining all the fires of the Mishnah. Some say 2 every day, some say 3, some say 4. Maracha Gedola, Maracha Ketana, everybody holds of. Then Rav Meir and Rav Yossi also hold of another fire for Kiyum Aish. And Rav Meir himself holds there's another fire for yesterday's Evom L'Kedom, which were not yet completely.
Which is in the nighttime. That was the nighttime fire. Because we're talking about those which remained through the day, no?
They don't want a morning fire now. No, they remain through the night. They remain through the night, and they still didn't get finished. Now making a new daytime fire. These are all the fires made on the morning. They're burnt at night, and now they didn't finish. They didn't get finished, and now you continue on the next day to burn yesterday's Kabbalah. This is a new fire. It's not a night fire. It's a day fire. And the day fire, which wasn't not, the Mayor says those were not finished from the night fire. So now you're making a new fire. So you don't put it back onto the new fire. You make a extra fire.
We learned that a few weeks ago.
I don't think so.
We learned about to what point do you have to throw it back in?
That's something else. Yeah, but now we're talking about you have a new fire for it or not. That's another point. That now comes in the morning. That was talking about chatzos, not chatzos. Now we're talking about that in the morning, and they still have to be burnt, and they weren't burnt yet. In the cases where you have left to burn, some of them you don't have to. The cases where you do have to still burn it, but continue burning it. Do you burn it on the new Maracha Gedola, or do you burn it on a special 4th fire that you
What I understood from the previous link, what is it? We throw it straight back into the same.
So we didn't talk about it. We didn't talk about it.
Didn't talk about it?
We didn't. That wasn't the issue.
I didn't hear of any thought
because we didn't talk about it. You were talking about it.
Okay.
Okay. Here's what the more. Yes, please.
Excuse me. Did this these fires, did they have to be watched during the night?
What does it mean to watch it? For which purpose?
Was somebody there supervising or anything? I don't know.
Yeah,
what if a wind comes and blows the whole fire? I don't know.
Their limbs onto them is back. There were people that will also get the whole night. We did also have somebody. We spoke about that at Hagrola. We mentioned maybe we didn't mention it, but it was said over there that the portion that the one who was zocha to put it onto the fire So he had the responsibility also to stay at night in case it would explode off. Like we had sometimes sometimes things that in the fire sometimes explode out. You might have to put it back on again. So yes, there were people over there, the Kohanim, especially the one who won the lottery, that he's supposed to put it onto the Mizbech. He also is responsible to see that it stays there until it's sufficiently burned. Okay, if it's okay, I will take the Gemara off now and put on the Pesukim on the screen. Whoever doesn't have the screen, if they can use a Chumash also, will be concentrating mostly in the beginning of Parashat Tzav. It's only one or two Pesukim, so it won't be difficult, but Parashat Tzav. So let's put it on. Okay, it's on the screen. Is it on the screen? Did it come on?
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Thank you. So this is Parashat Tzav, Perek. But right away in the beginning, some people say it in the Karbonos also. Not everybody says all the Karbonos, but some do say this also. So Vayikra, Perek 6, Pasuk, we'll be concentrating on Pasuk 2, 5, and 6. So just to read through the Parsha, just to get an idea of what it's talking about. Hashem said to Moshe, saying, comparing Aaron and his children, saying, this is the laws of the Korban Olah, the Olah, which was burning on the fire on the Mizbeach the whole night until the morning, and the fire of the Mizbeach should burn it. Then it says about doing Trumas Hadesh in Pasuk 3 and 4. It says the Kohen puts on his clothing and he takes Trumas Hadesh and takes some of the ashes off, which the by fire had consumed, and is to put it next to the Mizbeach. That's the din of Trumas Hadesh. Pasuk 4, that sometimes he does that. So Hadesh, and sometimes he has to take all the ashes out of the Machna, and he changes his clothing, and we have a thing what that means. It takes Hatzos Hadesh. Okay, that's not the get to us. Pasuk 3 is Trumas Hadesh, and Pasuk 4 is Hatzos Hadesh, and Pasuk 5 seems to be redundant psukim. The fire should be on the Mizbeach burning, it should not be extinguished. And the Kohen should also put more wood on the Mizbeach each morning. That's we had about the Shnei Gizrei Eitzim, and he should put the Olah on that, and then put the Shlomim, and Pasuk 6, and again, a constant fire should be burning on the Mizbeach, should not be extinguished. So it seems very many times we talk about a fire over here. You have over here in Pasuk 2 it says 2 times, and Pasuk 5 it says, Pasuk 6 it says. So we're going to dash on all of these fires. And that's going to be, first, so far we just learned about the opinions that there are every day, 2 fires, 3 fires, 4 fires, and Yom Kippur has an extra one. So now we're going to use the drushes to understand where we learned it from. So we started the Gemara. I'll leave it on, so maybe it'll be easier to follow in the Psukim. So we're 6 lines before it spreads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 lines before it spreads. Daf Mem Hey. The Kul Yam Umiyas Tarti Islu. Everybody has at least 2 fires. That goes without a question. The question was if you have 3 and 4, but everybody holds that you have at least 2 fires every day. Where did they get it from? Amar Krabu. Hi Allah. We're in Pasuk 2 over here. Hi Allah. Al Magra. Al Mizbeach. Al Alayla. Zuma Racha Gedola. So the first Pasuk over there, the first highlighted Pasuk, Hi Al Magra. Al Mizbeach. That talks about a fire. So it means it's supposed to be a fire. From there you see there's supposed to be a fire on which you burn the Karbonos. Then the Pasuk continued. The Eisham Mizbeach tu Karbo. That's the end of Pasuk days. It says again, the fire on the Mizbeach should be burning. The fact that it says another fire, it's an extra pasuk. Of course, this is all in the drash. In the pshat, you wouldn't see all this. But the fact that it says an extra pasuk, we dash, is supposed to be a second fire. What is that for? That's for the ketoras. Means you're going to burn the ketoras on the inner mizbeach. But you take the fire, you make a fire to make coals on the outer mizbeach in order to take those coals into the inner mizbeach where you're going to burn the incense. So we have already 2 psukim everybody agrees to. So pasuk base, both of these drushes is for the Marach Gedola and Marach Shnei Shel Ketoras. Now, how do you know Rabbi Yossi's third fire? Rabbi Yossi, Kiyam Eish Menale. Where does Rabbi Yossi know for this third fire that's supposed to be for the maintenance of the fire? Which Rashi said means that if the fire goes down, you should have a source of a fire to bring to back it up. Where does he get that from? Rabbi Yossi, Kiyam Eish Menale. Last narrow line. Nafkalei Miva'esh V'ha'esh Alam Mizbech Tu Kadbo. That's pasuk 5. V'ha'esh Alam Mizbech Tu Kadbo Lo Sukbeh. That's extra pasuk. So he learns from there that there should be another fire. Rabbi Yehuda, what is Rabbi Yehuda doesn't hold it. Pasuk 5. Pasuk 5. Rabbi Yehuda doesn't hold it this drasha. So what is he going to do with pasuk 5? We're going now on a tangent. If you don't hold it as pasuk's drasha for a third fire, so what do you use it for? So Rabbi Yehuda, Ahulat Sasas Al Yasa Huda. So that's for something else. That's going to teach you that in igniting the twigs of the fire, not a new fire, not a third fire. And in the first fire, maybe the second fire also, they're supposed to ignite the twigs on the mizbeach, which means that you might think that you could ignite the twigs that are going to be in the igniter of the fire. Maybe you could light it even off the mizbeach, and then bring it up. So it says no. You have to ignite the twigs that are going to make the whole fire on the mizbeach. That's going to be Rav Yehuda's Rasha. The word al yasa Rashi says means kismin dak, and it means small twigs. So hatzasa means like today. The word meitzit means an igniter. The igniting the twigs is also supposed to be on al mizbeach. Of course, you have to ignite it. You don't have to have a pasuk for that, but it has to be al mizbeach. The fact that it has to be done on the mizbeach, don't ignite it off the mizbeach, then bring burning
There has to be
twigs.
some fire still left over, or else it's not going to.
You could bring a fire from someplace else, but you're going to have to. But
Oh.
you don't bring. But the twigs that are going to be the what starts the fire and on the connecting it, that you ignite on the mizbeach. And now the first white line, the Tanya, it's going to bring a brisa for everything we just said. Both Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Yehuda. What do you do with this pasuk 5? Do you learn from pasuk 5? Do you learn out a third fire, or do you learn out to ignite the twigs on the mizbeach? It's going to be as a brisa. We said it on our own, but now we're going to show a brisa. The Tanya, Rabbi Yehuda Omer. Rabbi Yehuda said, from where do you learn out that the igniting of the twig should be only on top of the mizbeach? Don't ignite it on the bottom of the mizbeach, on the floor, and then go bring it up. Talmud Lomar, this pasuk 5. This pasuk teaches you to ignite the twigs on the mizbeach. And Rabbi Yossi says no. We said a second ago. Rabbi Yossi is going to say this is a third fire. Rabbi Yossi, this pasuk is used to tell you a third fire. The third fire of maintaining the fire. This third fire used for the maintenance of the fire. That's what we learn out from. So he said it first time around. Then he brought a brisa for both opinions. Rabbi Yossi learns from this pasuk a third fire. Rabbi Yossi says no, only 2 fires. And this pasuk is coming to tell you that you should ignite
Like
the twigs on the mizbeach. The Gemara wants to know, Rabbi Yossi also agrees that the igniting of the twigs has to be on the mizbeach. Where does he know that from? Where does he know that from? Rabbi Yossi, Hatzasas al Yasa Manale, where does he know this halacha of Rabbi Yehuda, which he uses pasuk 5, but Rabbi Yossi used it for something else, for a third fire. So how is Rabbi Yossi going to learn this halacha of Rabbi Yehuda? Nafkalei, Mehechad, Nafkalei, Rabbi Shimon. There's another pasuk which we see Rabbi Shimon argues in Rabbi Yehuda. So Rabbi Yossi is going to be teamed up with Rabbi Shimon on the same opinion that he's going to learn it also from the same pasuk as Rabbi Shimon learns it out. And where is that? The Tanya? So we go back to on Vayikra. We're scrolling that back to the beginning of Sefer Vayikra. So this is Vayikra, whoever has a Chumash, Vayikra Perakal Pasuk Zayin. Over there it says, over there it's not talking about the Seder HaTamid, it's talking about the Korban, but over there it also says that Bnei Aaron HaKohen should put fire ala Mizbeach. And Rabbi Yossi says that's enough pasuk to be able to learn out as we'll see now in the coming brisa. What do you do with this pasuk? It all seems to be extra pasuk. Where do you learn out that from? So Yehuda is talking now, and he knows already that he's supposed to ignite the twigs on the mizbeach from the pasuk in Parashat Sav. What we just said before in Parashat Sav, Rabbi Yehuda says that pasuk 5 is telling you that it's supposed to be on the top of the mizbeach. Well, what does it do with this pasuk? He says that this tells you Bnei Aaron. The fact that it says Bnei Aaron, so you have to say from here you see that a Kohen is the one who has to be igniting the fire, not non-Kohen, not a Zar. And also B'kli Sharis. Kli Sharis means with big dekuna. That a Kohen, in order to be in uniform, only when he's in uniform does he have a din of a Kohen, as far as the halacha d'avoda goes. So he has to be in his kahuna, b'kihuna, the Kli Sharis. So Yehuda uses this pasuk to say that you need a Kohen. Amalor Rabbi Shimon challenges Rabbi Yehuda. Do you need a pasuk to tell you need a Kohen? Once you know that it has to be on the mizbeach, you Rabbi Yehuda in Parashat Sav, you told us. I was maybe trying to get everything onto the screen. You in Parashat Sav, in pasuk Hey, over there you learned out that it has to be on top of the mizbeach, so you don't need another pasuk to tell you need a Kohen. Would you think that would it enter your mind that a non-Kohen is going to go on top of the mizbeach? If you know that it has to be on top of the mizbeach, of course they have to have a Kohen. So therefore, Rabbi Shimon is not happy with Rabbi Yehuda's way of darshaning. So a difficult Gemara. I don't have a pshat in this Gemara. I'm just going to say it, but I don't understand it. That Rabbi Shimon says, therefore, I'm not going to use the pasuk to tell you in Parashat Sav to tell you that you have to be on top of the mizbeach. I'm going to use this pasuk. This pasuk in Vayikra, that's going to be the pasuk to tell you that it has to be Rosh Hashanah mizbeach. And he seems to ignore the kasha that he himself asked. He himself asked the kasha. If you know that it has to be on top of the mizbeach, of course you need a Kohen. So Rabbi Shimon asked the kasha on Rabbi Yehuda, and he himself doesn't answer the kasha himself. He just changed the pasuk. Where do you know that you have to have on top of the mizbeach instead of Parashat Sav? He's learning it from Parashat Vayikra. So both of them do have a pasuk that has to be on top of the mizbeach. And Rabbi Shimon asked Rabbi Yehuda, so why do you have to have a pasuk for a Kohen? It seems like the Gemara doesn't seem to something's missing. That's the problem in the Gemara. Rashi seems to consider this problem, And Rashi says an answer, which I don't know what it is. So I'm just gonna just leave it. I don't know what Rashi's answer is. And Tosh talks about it. I didn't get the answer. Both of them, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Shimon, both of them seem to have a source that you have to have the top of the mizbeach. And Rabbi Shimon asks, if you know the top of the mizbeach, of course it's not a Kohen. Of course it's not a Zar. Surely a Kohen. So why do you need a pasuk to say you need a Kohen? So what's the difference if he learns it out from Parshas Tzaf, Parshas Vayikra? If everyone says that there's a pasuk to learn out that has to be on top of the mizbeach, so you don't need a pasuk to say it's a Kohen. Surely it's a Kohen. The Gemara is going to say teretz, but it doesn't make a difference. Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Shimon. Whatever we're concerned with, the Gemara just wanted to find that there's another pasuk for this halacha to learn out that igniting of the twigs has to be on top of the mizbeach and not down on the floor of the Zara. That it is true. That much we found that some learn it out from Parshas Vayikra. If you don't have Parshas Tzaf to learn it out from, because Rabbi Yossi uses it for the extra fire, the fire of the maintaining the fire, so then he has another pasuk in Parshas Vayikra that's available to learn out that the igniting of the twigs has to be on the top. The Gemara just answers the last kasha. Rabbi Yehuda, he mustn't have amena koya ara v'avid b'mapucha. Kamash Malan. Rabbi Yehuda says he's not impressed with Rabbi Shimon's kasha, that even though you know there has to be ignited on top of the mizbeach, I still do need a pasuk that has to be a Kohen. And even though he agrees to the point that, of course, a non-Kohen is not going to go on the Mizbeach, Rashi brings down a pasuk that Achal Klei Kodesh V'Lo Mizbeach Lo Yikrovu, that is pasuk that a non-Kohen is not allowed to go on the Mizbeach. Even if he's doing a good thing, he's doing avoda that he's allowed to do maybe, but he wouldn't be allowed to go on the Mizbeach. So that was the question. If it once, it has to be on the Mizbeach, so there's no question the Zara is not going to go up. So Rashi says there's another point. He could be standing on the floor, on the courtyard, and he has some kind of a bellows that he'd be able to bellow the fire on top of the mizbeach, even though he's not on the mizbeach. It's true, he can't go on the mizbeach, but still, you need another pasuk to tell me that the Kohen is the one who's doing the whole avodah of the fire, and not that the non-Kohen is doing it from the floor. So that answer would answer both Rabbi Shimon also, but Rashi seems to say Rabbi Shimon has a different answer, which he didn't come on to have Yehuda's answer. So this is all a side point. The kasha again was that if you don't use pasuk 5 to tell you a new third fire, what do you do? If you use the pasuk for that, so then you don't have that pasuk available to learn out this new halacha that the twigs has to be ignited on top of the mizbeach. So if you don't have this pasuk, you use a different pasuk in Parshas Vayikra. And now we learned out that also you need a Kohen, and even though surely a non-Kohen can't go on the mizbeach, there would be a pasuk with a big dekuna. But even though it's true that a non-Kohen surely cannot go on the mizbeach, but you might think that a non-Kohen would be able to stand on the floor and bellow the fire. So that you have to have a pasuk. No, you need a Kohen for that also. Just to point out that it comes out that if you have both of these things, that it is a Kohen and it's being ignited on top of the mizbeach, we don't care that he's on the floor. It means the Kohen will be able to stand on the floor and bellow the fire on top of the mizbeach, because the ignition is being done on top of the mizbeach, and the Kohen it's being done by a Kohen. The Gemara says that I would have thought that even a non-Kohen could do it from that position if he's off the mizbeach. So you need a Kohen. But after everything's over, the igniter doesn't have to be on the mizbeach. The ignition has to be on the mizbeach. So if you're off the mizbeach and you're igniting it with a long contraption, so that's okay. So we learned already 3 fires. So we'll take away Parshas Vayikra now, back to Parshas Tzav, and we said that everyone agrees on Moktel Mizbeach is coming to tell you 1 fire. Mizbeach Tukabo is coming to tell you a 2nd fire, and then Rabbi Yehuda says pasuk 5, Vaishal Mizbeach Tukabo is telling you a 3rd fire. Now we want to know Rabbi Meir's 4th fire. Rabbi Meir said that for yesterday's Avon Mupidom that were not yet consumed, you make a 4th fire. Where does he get it from? 4 lines from the bottom. Rabbi Meir Avon Mupidom Shlanu Sachlam Be'er. Where does he get a source for this 4th fire? Naftale Mivva Eish. So this is going back on pasuk 2, and we're just going to emphasize the vav over there, the first vav. Oh, I'm doing too much. I just need to emphasize. I forgot how to do this again. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, the first vav of the Eish. Why did I forget how to do this? I do it every day. Okay, I forgot how to do this. Nope, something's wrong. Okay. And I just emphasize it. Okay, not the Aleph, also a mistake.
We see the.
Okay, just the vav. The vav, that vav is emphasized. Okay, I got it. Okay, that vav, the vav of the Eish is an extra vav, but I've said that tells you new fire. That's the Gemara here. 4 lines from the bottom. How does he know this 4th fire? The vav of Eish. Rabbanan, Vav Lo Dorish. That Vav Aleph Vav is the way you say Vav. That's the letter Vav. Rabbanan says Vav Lo, they don't dash an extra Vav. But Vav is not enough to make it drasha for. It's a general rule in the whole darshaning world, the whole drasha world, that some don't dash in a Vav. So Rabbanan don't dash in a Vav. Okay, fine. So we have machlokes if you have the fourth fire. But the one wants to know, this is what we mentioned earlier, if you don't have a fourth fire, so what do you really do with yesterday's Devarim? If yesterday's Devarim were not burnt completely, how do you burn them? So we said you put it back onto the new fire. So that's going to be the Gemara now. Rameh says make a new fire. Rabbanan, I'm going to say you put it back onto the new Maracha Gedola. Rabbanan, what do you do with yesterday's limbs and fats which were not yet consumed? What the Gemara is going to say now brings a brayso. Really, it's a Mishnah. That's to point out that's a Mishnah in Maseches Tamid in the second parak. So I don't know why the Gemara doesn't bring the Mishnah, but it brings a brayso. They bring it back. They put it back onto the Maracha Gedola, which means that they're going to rearrange the big fire. Every day they rearrange it in the morning, and once they rearrange it, they put back also yesterday's limbs that were not yet burnt. They'll put it back onto this fire for today's karbanos. They'll put also yesterday's karbanos. The
Which would be in vogue with the first learning we learned a couple of weeks ago, where you throw it back on the marek.
We didn't learn about it. You said it, but it's fine. Even that was your impression. You said, but we didn't say differently.
We throw it back on.
I don't know
to finish
no.
the
But it's talking about the middle of the night, and the question is if you have to continue burning it. So of course, during the night you surely put it. That's the fire that's burning. But we're talking about now in the morning. It came the morning and it still was not yet consumed, and you taking
the next morning.
In the morning, yes.
Oh, that's.
And now you're putting a new fire. So now the old fire is not there anymore. You took it down. You rearranged the new fire. So now what do you do?
Nice.
It could be that was your impression, but we didn't talk about it. Now we're talking about it. The Tanya, bottom line, שסודרין על גבי המזבח, ומי מחזיקון שסודרין על הכבש על גבי הסובב, עד שיעשה מלאכה גדולה וסודרין. How do you know that if you have leftover a worm that were not yet burnt, so you take it and you arrange it on the mizbeach or on the ramp or on the soveh, which is the part of the mizbeach which you walk around, any place that you can put that, keep it on the mizbeach or the different areas of the mizbeach, the soveh, the kevesh, until you make the new fire and then put it back on again. This is Rabbanan. Rabbi will say that you put it onto a different fire, but here it's going to say you put it back onto the new Maracha Gedola that you made. Tamad Lomar Asher Tochal Ha'esh Es Ha'olah Al HaMizbeach. So Asher Tochal Ha'esh. This is in pasuk 3. I didn't highlight it over here, but this is in pasuk 3 that Asher Tochal Ha'esh Es Ha'olah Al HaMizbeach. So he dashes from here is a pasuk to say that you put it back onto the same fire. Reb Meir learned that from the Vav of H, make a new fire. And the Rabbanan in Pasuk Gimel, they say this pasuk is mashma that you're putting the Evarim into the same fire. Asher tochal ha'esh es ha'olah al hamizbeach. And what does Reb Meir do with that pasuk? He says make a new fire. You don't put it back onto the same fire. So what does he do with that pasuk? Reb Meir ikulei olah tamachzi via tamachzi ikulei ketoris. So this is what Chaim David was mentioning, that if things fell off the mizbeach in the middle of the night, things fell off the fire, you by the fire.
Excuse me, I lost you when you said if things fall off the fire. We lost you for this.
We had before that sometimes if things fell off the fire, you have to put it back in again. Sometimes you don't have to if it's after chatzos, if it was completely burnt, but sometimes you have to return the Evarim onto the fire, even if it fell off. But here the Rosh is telling you the Iyat Tamach from the Diot, the Dafka the Ola, on the fifth line, V'yat Tamach Zir Ikulei Ketores. If Ketores, the Ketores in the Mizbeach Pnimi, you have in the inner the golden altar that also you have the Ketores burning on the Mizbeach. What if somebody poured it off the Mizbeach? You have to put it on again? Here it says you don't. Only Ikulei Ola do you put back onto the fire. But
what is Ikulei?
That means things that were consumed. The word sometimes is with the iron. It means things that were. The word just to point out digestion, just to get the same word. Ikul is also the same word for digestion. Also with the iron or with the olive, things that are. Here we're talking about the fire eating it up. So if the Ketores, even if it came off the Mizbeach Apnimi and it was not yet burned, you don't put it on again. Any Ketores that falls off, you don't put it back on. By the Evarim, the Ola, so then sometimes you have to put it back on again. Depends if it's before Chatzos, after Chatzos, if it's completely burned, Mashal Ben Or, but sometimes you do have to return back the Evorim onto the Mizbech.
Is there no
But by
time
the
frame
Ketores-
that the Ketores Pnimi has to be?
Here it says, no, that, you burn it, we're not supposed to burn it, but it says that you don't put it back. If it falls off, you don't put it back on again. Itani Rabbi Chanina, Bar Minyumi, B'debei Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov, he brought around a brisa. This mamish is Rosh Asher Tochal Eishes Haolah LaMizbech, Ikulei Olah Tamachzi, V'Tamachzi, Ikulei Ketores. So this was the drasha Achlokes. If you learn out of the pasuk Gimel, you learn out that Evorim of yesterday are put back onto the same fire, and those who say that you don't, so they have a drasha to say that from here you could infer that if the Ketores falls off the Mizbech, you don't put it back on again. Now, what did we do? That we just finished 4 fires. We had pasuk Beis was at least 2 fires everybody agreed to. Rabbi Yossi had a pasuk 5, pasuk Hey that learned out a 3rd fire. Rabbi Meir had the vav of the Eish in pasuk 2. He learned that that's the 4th fire. Now the Gemara goes on to the 5th fire, or whatever you hold, the extra fire. The extra fire of Yom Kippur. Everybody holds this extra fire, and from there you bring the fire into the coals, into the Kodesh Kodashim to do the Ketores. And that's the next subject. So holding the Kuli Alma, that's about 10 lines from the top. The last word is Alma. The Kuli Alma Mias Mosif and Bobi Yom. Everybody agrees that you do add a new fire for Yom Kippur. And that's the question. Where do you know that from? You were holding in pasuk 5, and we're going to add on. We're going to be madgish also over here to emphasize the vav hey in pasuk 5 v'ha'esh. So everybody holds that you are going to darshan the vav and the hey to say an extra 5. That's the Gemara over here. Where did I say that? Vav hey darish. Even those before we said in pasuk 2, not everybody darshans vav. Only your mayor darshan the v'esh. But the vav hey, everybody holds that you do darshan. That's really extra. So therefore, everybody will hold that you have extra fire for Yom Kippur. If that's good, then we're happy. We got all the drushes so far. Now the Gemara is interested. We darshan all the psukim very nicely, but there's another pasuk 6 coming up. Eish tamid tukaral mizbeach lo sefbeh. What's that all about? If we darshan all these other psukim, we got already maybe 5 fires even, but the one pasuk we didn't darshan at all. What do you do with pasuk 6? Why does it say again that it should be a constant fire on the mizbeach? The eish tamid l'mayasa. What is pasuk 6 for? We need it for the following drasha. So the next couple of words you could take out from the Gemara. The Gemara takes it out, it makes it much simpler. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The next 7 words, the whole pasuk. Take that out and replace it with the Gemara does over here. He replaces it with Ve'esh HaMizbeach Tu Kadbo. Means it's not quoting pasuk 6, it's quoting the end of pasuk 2. It's quoting this pasuk. Ve'esh HaMizbeach Tu Kadbo. That's the pasuk which we learned out that is supposed to be a second Maracha Shniya Shel Ketores, without the vav, not because of the vav. That was made dash in the vav, but the pasuk alone we use the end of pasuk 2 to tell you that you're supposed to make a Maracha Shniya Shel Ketores. You make a fire in order to bring in coals for the Mizbeach HaPnimi of every day's Ketores. So the Brisa continues. The talk about the Mizbeach HaChitzon. This whole parsha over there is talking about the outer Mizbeach, and it says there should be a fire. And now you learn a second fire. Where's the fire? It's not on the Mizbeach HaPnimi. It's not on the inner Mizbeach. It's on the outer Mizbeach. From here you see that the fire from where you're going to take coals to bring on to the burn the Ketores is not from the inner Mizbeach. It's from the outer Mizbeach. But that we knew already. That wasn't a chiddush. We know that the second fire for the Ketores is brought from the outer Mizbeach, and the pasuk is Eish Mizbeach Tu Kadbo, and let's talk about the outer Mizbeach. No chiddush yet. But then the Brisa continues, Eish Machta u'menorah minayin. Where do you know that the fire of Yom Kippur, the reason it's called Eish Machta, the fire of the fire pan. What is that? Why is that called the fire of Yom Kippur? Because the other Ketores, you brought it in a fire pan in order to bring it onto the Mizbeach, but then you put it onto the Mizbeach. But the fire of Yom Kippur, you brought it into Kodesh HaKodashim, there was no place to put it over there. You left it on the fire pan, the coals were in the fire pan, and then you would put the Ketores onto that. So that's why it's called Eish Machta. So the fire of Yom Kippur and of the menorah, minayin. Where do you know that it's taken from the Mizbeach HaChitzon? Means we had a drasha ready to tell you that there's supposed to be a fire for Yom Kippur. Everybody agreed about the Vav Hey of pasuk 5 that tells you there's a fire for Yom Kippur. We didn't, but still the Gemara is not happy to know which Mizbeach is talking about. How am I supposed to know which Mizbeach it's from? I would have thought that whole pasuk is talking about the outer Mizbeach, but for some reason the Gemara is not happy with that. And also the Gemara wants to know the menorah, which we didn't talk about at all. From where do you get the fire of the menorah? The Kohen lights the menorah. Balos Chosane Ros, Mamish Parsha Shavua, Balos Chosane Ros, that you supposed to light the menorah. Where do you get the fire from? Here it says you're going to get the fire from the outer Mizbeach. The fire to light the menorah is brought from the outer Mizbeach. And how do you know? Vidinu. So first you might think,
It's a whole different subject. We're not
Right,
talking about.
right. You want to know where do you get the fire for the menorah? Where do you get the fire for Yom Kippur? Vidinu. First, the one says, I can learn that by myself. I can make it limud. Remember Eish Miktoris, remember Eish B'machta. We know there's supposed to be a fire by the Ktoris. It doesn't say the word Eish, Rashi says, but there's a fire by the Ktoris. And that we know already, it's supposed to come from the Adam Mizbeach. And now it also says by Eish B'machta menorah that there's also supposed to be a fire for the Ktoris of Yom Kippur. There's supposed to be a fire for the menorah. So maybe learn that from the Ktoris, the same place where you get the Ktoris fire from. So get it also for these other places, for these other purposes, for the Yom Kippur, for the menorah. Just like the Ktoris fire is taken from the outer Mizbeach, so too the fire for the
So it's learn it from a Kal Chomer.
not a Kal Chomer, like a
learn
Mamatzin.
from another
Mamatzin is called. A Mamatzin. That's like over there. See here also, no reason to differentiate. But the Gemara says maybe not. Oh, Klachel Derech Hazud is another way, another angle to look at it. Remember Eish B'Ktoris, remember Eish B'Machta. It is true that we learn that from the Ktoris, but maybe a different angle, not from the outer Mizbeach, but remember Eish B'Machta menorah. Mal halan b'samuchlo, af machta b'samuchlo. Maybe you get it from the closest mizbeach. Means it's true that the Ktoris fire is taken from the outer mizbeach. Is it because it's from the outer mizbeach, or is it because it's from the closest mizbeach, the nearest mizbeach? It's true when you're looking at the inner mizbeach, which is the closest mizbeach, not itself, but the outer mizbeach. So maybe also by the menorah and the Kodesh HaKadoshim of Yom Kippur, maybe you're supposed to take it from the closest mizbeach. The closest mizbeach would be the inner mizbeach, because you have the Kodesh HaKadoshim and the menorah inside, and then the Mizbeach HaPnimi, the inner Mizbeach, is also right there in the same building, and the outer Mizbeach is in a step further. So maybe you're supposed to take it from the closest Mizbeach available. So maybe you're supposed to take the fire of the menorah and the fire of Yom Kippur from the inner Mizbeach. So you need a pasuk. But that's why you need this last pasuk. This pasuk is telling you the fire is supposed to be brought from the outer Mizbeach, as the Gemara explains. So Rashi,
Eish Tamid Shamat.
Eish Tamid. So what's the Eish? I maybe I missed it. Eish Tamid. What's the Eish Tamid? Rashi tells us, like it says, Rahalos Ner Tamid. Rahalos Chas Ane Ros Amol Pnei Am Navoyush. I think it says over there. I forgot. I didn't look at it where it says it. Rahalos Ner Tamid. I'm not sure where that pasuk is. Maybe it's coming up in this week's parsha. I didn't pay attention, but maybe not. No, there's probably parsha. It's probably over there. When it talks
Have
about,
it in by me. It's the
Where's
pasuk.
that?
Yeah, the pasuk is from Shmos Kav Zayin Kaf.
Where it says to make the menorah. Okay, very good. So that's where we know that the fire of the menorah is called Tamid. So when it says Eish Tamid, it's referring to the fire of the menorah. It's a drash. It's not the Pashup Shat, but it says that the Eish Tamid, which is on the menorah, should be brought from this Mizbeach.
Kaf Shmot Kaf.
What's the reference, please, of Manuel?
I think it's Kav Zayin Kaf. But it's samud to the pasuk in Vayikra Tes Zayin Yud Beit. That's what they Torah connects both of them.
I'm not sure what you meant. What you said now.
You're saying it by the menorah when the lighting of the menorah
This
the first
pasuk,
time.
this pasuk, Eish Tamid. This Rashi was
Kav
saying that
Mois of Zion Kol.
Shmos
Kaf Zayin Kaf.
of Zion.
That's from the original commandment of making a menorah.
But the Saves, not Mamish and Truma, but in not the beginning when it says to make the menorah, but it says Vatat Saves Bnei Yisrael v'Yikro Elecha. This is Parshas Tetzaveh. V'Yikro Elecha, beginning of Parshas Tetzaveh. Vatat Saves Bnei Yisrael v'Yikro Elecha Shem Zayizach Chasis Lamol Lahalos Ner Tomid. That's the pasuk. Thank you. Yes, you go. The first pasuk of Parshas Tetzaveh. So that's where it's called the Ner Tomid.
That's not this pasuk. Eish Tamid Tukad. Oh, that's our pasuk.
Nachon.
I see.
That's true. So this pasuk of Tamid, the word Tamid, we're going to learn out that it's talking about the menorah because the pasuk in Parshas Tetzaveh calls it a Tamid, calls it Lalos Ner Tamid. So this pasuk of Eish Tamid is referring to that Tamid, that constant menorah, the what he's supposed to constantly have the menorah. So that fire is taken from the outer mizbeach. So, but the Gemara says very nice drasha, but you only talked about the menorah. We started talking about two subjects, about Yom Kippur and the menorah. And now this pasuk of Tamid only helps you for the menorah. So still, you didn't tell me, how do you know that the fire of Yom Kippur is also supposed to be taken from the outer mizbeach? That's the pasuk over. That's the Gemara, second wide line. We learn from here the fire for the menorah, like you just told me, Tamid. But but he still didn't tell me how about Yom Kippur. So everything's going well, but we still are left with the main subject, which is our Masechta, Yuma. It came in out as a side subject, but how do you know that the fire Yom Kippur of the Torah, which is taken inside, is supposed to be taken from the Adam Mizbeach? So the third line, again, the Gemara tries to make a drasha without any pasuk. V'dinu, maybe you can make your own drasha. Nemra eish b'machta, v'nemra eish b'menorah. Once we know that, the rest of them figured out that the menorah is supposed to be from the outer mizbeach. So maybe say that the machta is also the same thing.
Well, we're learning backwards.
Yes, once you know the facts. Till then we didn't know any of them. Now we know the menorah. If you know the menorah, so learn out from the menorah also to Yom Kippur. And just like by the menorah, we know that the fire comes from the outer mizbeach, so too Yom Kippur fire for the Kodesh HaKadosh also should be taken with the outer fire. But the Gemara says, no, maybe not. There's another way, another angle to look at it. You can look at it differently. The Ketores fire also says there's supposed to be a fire. It's true. It's true. It also comes from the outer mizbeach, but maybe it's not the angle of, not the aspect of the outer mizbeach as much as being the closest mizbeach. And if so, by the Kodesh HaKadoshim, the closest mizbeach is going to be the inner mizbeach. So maybe you're supposed to take the fire of the Kodesh HaKadoshim from the inner mizbeach. Just like over there, it's from the closest mizbeach. So to take it from the closest mizbeach, and the closest mizbeach of the Kodesh HaKadoshim is going to be the inner mizbeach. So the Gemara says you do need a pasuk. So now we come up with a new pasuk. So this is in Parshas Achrei. It's also, if whoever wants to, it's right on the screen. If not, you can open up a chuppah, and that's in Parshas Achrei, Perek 16, pasuk 12. This is on Yom Kippur, where it says that you're supposed to take, the Kohen takes a shovelful, a panful of the coals from the Mizbeach Malufnei Hashem. And we're going to figure out that this pasuk says the outer Mizbeach. If you look at the pasuk, maybe the pasuk Shah doesn't say, but it says you should take coals from the Mizbeach, which is before Hashem. Which Mizbeach is that? Is that the inner Mizbeach or the outer Mizbeach? It could be someone will say the pasuk Shah sounds like it's the inner Mizbeach.
Because it's Bnei Hashem.
No, it's Bnei Hashem. But the Gemara says no. Which Mizbech is only partly Lefnei Hashem. So Rashi says, the fact that it says, take it from the Mizbech Lefnei Hashem, I'll say Rashi's trying to, others have learned differently, but Rashi says that it tells you, take it from the part which is Lefnei Hashem. It means take it, the part closer to Hashem, which means on the west. The west of the Mizbech is the part which is Lefnei Hashem. If you talk about the outer Mizbech, that's true, that west of the Mizbech is Lefnei Hashem, but the rest of the Mizbech is not. Only the part which is facing the Beis HaMikdash. But the inner Mizbech is all Lefnei Hashem. If it would be the inner Mizbech, it wouldn't have to say take it from the part which is close to Hashem, because the whole thing is in front of Hashem. So therefore, the Gemara learns out that the Gemara means dafka, the outer Mizbech. There's a little different way to do this. Drasha Bechlanel says that the Mizbech, which is only partly Lefnei Hashem, which means that the Mizbech HaChitzon, it was 32 amos wide, and only 10 amos of it was directly in front of the Pesach. The rest of it was off to the sides. So that's how he learns the Drasha, a little different than Rashi. The Gemara says 3 lines from the bottom, Ve'itzrich, you can take off the pasuk already. 3 lines from the bottom, Ve'itzrich lemichtav me'alam Mizbech, Ve'itzrich lemichtav me'lefnei Hashem. You need both psukim. This pasuk we just said, me'alam Mizbech me'lefnei Hashem. You need both parts of the pasuk in order to be able to locate the Mizbech. If it would have just said, take the coals from the Mizbech, he would have thought maybe the inner Mizbech. He wouldn't have known that it means the outer Mizbech. That's why the pasuk also had to say Lefnei Hashem, to say that it's the outer Mizbech, as we just darshan now, that it means from the part which is Lefnei Hashem, which means that it's the outer Mizbech, which is only partly Lefnei Hashem. Because Lefnei Hashem, so it does say, take it from Lefnei Hashem. You would have thought that it has to be dafka from the part which is mamish in front of the Pesach, which Rashi says. Rashi also agrees over here that the Mizbech was wider than the Pesach Ol Moed. The Pesach Ol Moed was 10 amos, and the Mizbech was 32 amos. So do you have to take a dafka from opposite the Mizbech, opposite the Heichel, or you can take it from the sides also? The Pasuk says it's good enough. It has to be from the Mizbech. It doesn't have to be from the dafka Lefnei Hashem. L'chatchila it should be. Taisus points out that l'chatchila it should be from the western part and also the part which is mamish Pesach Ol Moed. But if you took it from the sides, it's also good enough. So that's the end of the drasha today. That's the end of the Gemara today. We've learned about all the, besides the first things that we learned about, that was about Torahs, Daka and Adaka. Right. We didn't have it yet. We didn't talk about that. It could be that it was, I think they do put it on the Marav side. I think they put it more westward, but we didn't talk about it. That we didn't talk about. So the Gemara first talk about that's the Chazal first. We spoke about the Torahs of every day. Also, on Yom Kippur, there was besides that also you had Hadik at the Malachofna, which is not going to Daka because the extra pasuk that says Daka. Also, the Kohen Gadol going up every day. Usually every day you go on the right, like it says Kalpina Shataponi, you shouldn't walk extra, but the Kohen Gadol goes in the middle because Kvodo the Kohen Gadol. Also, Kiddush Raglayim was also Mishum Kvodo. He had a Kiton Shalzov. And then all the Batam Arachos, everybody holds it with two. They're all dashing over there from Parshat Savez, they had extra times. The fire gets again and again. Everybody holds his Meracha Gedola and Meracha Shnishal Ketoras. Machlokas, if you had also a third one, Kiyam Reish, not a Psak, we do pass like Rabbi Yossi. The pass like Rabbi Yossi, every day there were 3 fires. There was the Meracha Gedola, Meracha Shnishal Ketoras, also Kiyam Reish, which Rashi says in case you need a fire. The Rashash says maybe it means a mitzvah to have a constant fire. And we don't pass like Rabbi that says the 4th fire about yesterday's Evorim, that we pass like the Rabbanim and put it back onto the same Meracha Gedola again. And then the Gemara spoke about also news that we got was about the Kulei Ktoros, that if Ktoros falls off the Mizbech, you don't put it back on. You don't put it back on again. Also, another news we got was that the menorah is also taken from the outer Mizbech, and Yom Kippur and the Drush at the end. The Gemara says also that it's taken from the outer Mizbech. So all the fires are taken from the outer Mizbech. The question was if you have a special fire for them or not. But everyone agrees to these different issues. Okay, Yashikov. Yashikov, everybody will be back soon. Shortly with Yashikov.